Continuamos con el panel de comunidades colaborativas.
We continue with the open collaborative communities. We're going to introduce the speakers. Thank you very much for being with us.
The first one is Denise Larsson. Denise es analista de innovación en
Denise is working in an institution that remediates social challenges.
platform about, and what did all started?
Thank you. Is everybody? Yeah, works. Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Denise. I work at Alchemio. We're a startup based in the Netherlands, but we have a growing team of about 18 people across Europe. And we are building a platform that enables individuals and organizations together to work on challenges. And I think the word challenge is something we've been hearing a lot today. So we've been hearing about a lot of social challenges, environmental challenges. How do we, avoid misinformation, fake news? So those are all challenges that we work on together. And I think there are a lot of individuals, organizations, institutions, researchers working on these challenges. But it's hard, it's very hard. And I think there's a lot of energy and willingness, just as we've seen today, of people that want to share their ideas, that want to connect with others that have similar ideas or that want to work together. But we don't have a real platform where we can actually do that, where we can find each other, define these challenges, and together make real progress. So we have a platform for anything except for that in some sense. So that's what we're working towards with Alchemio. And we've seen how platforms can be misused as well. So we've been talking today about like the Facebooks, the Amazons, Google. So we as Alchemio are therefore a completely open source platform and backed by foundation to ensure that these public values are also ensured and that we in that sense can work together to make progress. So that's the start.
And what is the motivation behind this project? Not only the principles of the foundation, but also your personal motivations to work on it?
Okay. So personally, I have a legal background. So I've been working on looking at how policy can drive and support sustainable development. And thereby I saw that obviously the legal perspective is not going to solve it in itself. So we need to know more about all the different perspectives and how we can make a bridge between these different perspectives, different organizations, and that was what really motivated me during my studies as well. So afterwards, when I came in contact with Alchemio, I really saw that we could combine and learn from these different perspectives, and I could really learn from everyone that's been working on these social and environmental challenges, and really translate these needs of everyone into functionalities that we, with the platform, can support. So working with the development team on that and really asking everyone, like, okay, how do you manage your challenges right now? How do you work on your challenges? What is needed for you to really make progress? So I think that was one of my personal motivations to work for Alchemio. And obviously the reasoning behind the foundation and the really purpose-driven team is what really makes it a lot of fun to work with every day.
How do you think this platform is really going to impact in the communities of...
Yeah, so first it also started, I think one of the examples is that both founders were working on an initiative during the pandemic. And during this initiative, they were making partnerships between public and private parties. And they really saw that, I think the COVID pandemic definitely showed us, just like all other challenges that we are working on, that there are a lot of different organizations, users, or individuals that want to contribute, a lot of researchers that have been doing research about it, a lot of governments that want to work on challenges that they've seen in their country, but in other countries or cities. But that it's really hard to find each other and to really channel that energy and that ambition and willingness into solutions. So therefore, they also wanted to do that during the pandemic with the initiative. And they really saw that there's not a platform that can do that, that can really, where they can combine them together, where they can connect with each other. So that's one of the reasons for them to start Alchemio. And I think we've been working with the community around us to really understand what it is that they need to work on such a platform. Because it's not easy, obviously. We talk about it a lot, and we are talking about it together as well today. But hopefully with these continuous conversations, even the conversations I had with lots of you today, really help with shaping that and looking into how we can support that.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, we're moving to the next speaker. Giorgos Flouris es coordinador del laboratorio de
Coordinator for Privacy, Respect, Privacy's Foundation.
The project CAP-A, and is also related to participatory process.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I'm here to talk about the project CAP-A, which is an NGI-funded project. It lasted for 17 months from 2019 to 2020. It had two partners. The first partner was the organization that I work for. It's the Foundation of Research and Technology, a research foundation, which is the biggest one in Greece and one of the biggest in Europe. And the second partner was a company, a web development company from Germany. So the objective of the project was to build a community that would together support each other into better awareness about privacy aspects related to mobile applications and also on the web. And to make this more clear, I will start with something that Fabrizio Sestini said this morning, that people are not very much aware about what's happening with their personal data on the internet. And this is very true. And the main reason that this is true is because it's practically impossible at the current state of affairs to know what exactly happens with your personal data the moment you go online. There's a funny story about this because the Norwegian Consumer Council did the following experiment. They took the applications that are installed in an average mobile phone of a Norwegian consumer, and they read the terms and conditions that these applications have. And there's a nice video on the internet showing those people reading those terms and conditions. Do you know how long this video is? It's 37 hours. It took them 37 hours to read the terms and conditions of the applications that are installed in an average Norwegian consumer's phone. And this is probably the same for other countries as well. So the idea is that those documents are very long, very lengthy, very difficult to read, and practically nobody reads them. And we are now downloading applications at a tremendous rate. People are all the time downloading applications, and they don't have the time or the interest to read those terms and conditions. And this creates several problems, because when you download an application from the internet, which is or the Play Store, which is free, there is somebody who developed it, and this somebody probably has a family or has to make a living somehow. He's not doing it as a hobby, right? So the dominating business model right now is that you get the application for free, but the developer gets your personal data, and then he probably sells it to third parties, or he does something else with them. And this is how they make money. So people don't know this. People don't understand this. And this is all of this is written in the terms and conditions, but since nobody reads them, it doesn't make any difference. So what CAP-A is trying to do is to provide a platform, or to be more precise, a portal, through which is accessible by any web browser. And people can enter in that portal and find information about the applications that they use, but also contribute information, because if nobody contributes information, then nobody can find information, right? It's the same model that Wikipedia uses, for example, or other similar websites. So our effort was first to build a community which is interested about privacy aspects, then develop those tools in which when people can come and upload this kind of information. And then we hope that this will help people understand better what's going on and maybe change their consuming habits. And this will leverage the forces of the market and probably change how developers see the world. Because right now, if I'm a developer and let's say that I don't like this model, I don't want to take your personal data. I want to find other ways to make money. what's the benefit for me? Nobody will know that I do this because I cannot sell it as a competitive advantage because nobody knows that I'm not taking the personal data. This information is hidden inside the terms and conditions, nobody reads them. So there's no way to do this. There is no incentive to do this. Once people become aware of what's going on, developers will have the incentive to build on this as a competitive advantage. And maybe we will see versions of applications, let's say, the same application that's sold in two versions. One version is free, but it takes your personal data, and the other version costs, let's say, some amount of money, but it's privacy respecting. And some people will choose the first, some people will choose the second. It's fine, so long as people are aware of what they're choosing, right? So the main problem here is unawareness. So in CAPE, the portal that we built, I will say a few features that you have there so that people can maybe better understand. First of all, we have crawled from Play Store the 19,000 applications and their terms of service. People can read those terms of service and click on different paragraphs, annotating them. For example, if a paragraph says that this application takes your location data in order to do this and that thing, then people can annotate this paragraph with a specific icon, and then the users can see those icons and get, with a glance, what are the main points of this document, without having to read it all. And then another feature is that people can express their expectations. For example, if you read the terms of service of Viber and it says that we are using the phone's Wi-Fi, yeah, that's normal. I mean, it's necessary for the application to work. So you can say that, yeah, it does, but it's very reasonable. But then if you see another application that, let's say, a flashlight application, that it needs access to your location data, you will say, why? It's not reasonable. So you can also annotate this application with the fact that this particular request is not reasonable. And using these kinds of annotations that the users have put, we make ratings. We automatically compute some ratings. We give specific badges in the applications like you have in refrigerators with A+, etc., so that people can see can look at applications and compare them, not only in terms of their features and their price and other things that we usually compare applications against, but also against their privacy properties, based on what our users have annotated. And the important point here is that in order for this to work, you should have enough users and you should have enough annotations so that a large part of Play Store is annotated. We have done the first step. Of course, we haven't annotated a significant part of Play Store, but we have around 500 applications, if I'm not mistaken, which are quite popular. We did this in our pilots during the project. And hopefully, I mean, the project is finished now, so we don't have funds to essentially maintain this. But we are trying to find alternative funding to continue this and possibly enhance those annotations with more things.
That's so interesting. Thank you so much, Giorgos. Hope that you can find that other resources to follow with it. So we're going now with Javier Sepúlveda. Es promotor
of the GNU Anastasis. GNU Anastasis. Genau, okay. So what does this system consist of, and what does this mean?
The microphone is working? Okay. So I will explain everything, mostly Spanish and English, but I want to start with a couple of jokes, okay? Because, it's too late, I'm tired, and I can see, all of you are kind of remaining in silence, so a couple of jokes. One is for my good friend Carla, that I met her yesterday night. So please take into account into your work. So have you seen the movie Terminator? Have you seen that movie? So take that into account, okay? It's just a joke, okay? So the Terminator, that's not, the next generation internet. So I don't want to live in a world like that in the next future, with these machines around, because of your fault. I'm just kidding, okay? And the second joke will be in Spanish, okay? Because
I have listened. I'm from Valencia, Spanish from Valencia, not from Valladolid, which is a typical Spanish, but it is from Valencia. And the next joke is the following. I have heard in this Congress the word Facebook come up. I have heard it mentioned by people in a normal manner, and people like Irina that criticized it, which is the way it should be. So once, yes, because Facebook doesn't have users. Facebook has used people. Facebook uses users. They are not users, they are used people. And if you're a user, you consent to being used by that service, Facebook that is. So when I was a child, I listened to an interview to Carlos Arguiñano. Carlos Arguiñano is a very famous chef featuring on TV, and he was asked, Carlos, do you take your child to McDonald's? And he answered, well, I love my child. So it's a joke. But for example, my children do not use Facebook. There are certain things that they can use so that they don't lose the socialization, but they know about free and privacy protecting software. So, and that was the second joke that I wanted to crack. Although I'm eliminating some minutes from my speech, and people are going to tell me off, but I spend my minutes as I please. Because that's the reason why I'm here. So the third element that I would like to present, and later on I'm going to do a rebuke to him. There's a bit of for everyone today. So the third point I wanted to make, which is very important, is that in this event, most of the speakers talked about something which is not correct. Open source. Open source is a different movement. Open source came from free software. Free software is the free software, and I'm going to talk about free software. It's really important to make that distinction. For this project, it's extremely important to understand what free software is. Free software is not just a movement. It's a movement where users have control on the computing softwares that they're using. And free software is a software where you have control over that, and it's based on 4 freedoms. The first freedom is for you to have the right to use that software for any purpose so that no one curbs your freedom. You can execute that software and you have permission of execution for anything you like. There's no specification by the developer or programmer saying you can just use it for this purpose. That's the first premise, the first freedom. The second freedom has to do for you to be able to study the source code. In Valencia, we love paella, and in Malaga, you love pastries. They're fantastic, by the way. But I would like to go to the bakery and say, look, give me the recipe for the 3 chocolate cake. And I would like to have the recipe, because if I just enjoy the pie, I don't know the ingredients or the process. So the second freedom of free software has to do with the freedom to study the program, the software, and be capable of modifying that. That's the second freedom. And to that end, it's essential to have the source code, which is to do with how it is written, because the ones provided by Microsoft are compiled softwares. And the third freedom is to have the right to take that software and be capable of distributing among our friends and community members, and you can do exact copies of that software. And the last freedom is to be capable of modifying that software and sharing that. That's what free software means. It is protected. This is the ideology of free software, and this is protected by a copyleft license system. Instead of having copyrights, it's copyleft system, which would be the reverse concept. So those licenses protect the software. So you can have permissive licenses like the public domain one, where you can take the source code and Apple takes that source code, compiles it, and privatizes that, and it's no longer public domain, or the Apache, or the MIT license, or the GPL license, which is really good, which protects you. And they say that if you take free software and you embed that in another software, it also needs to be GPL. So that is important. It doesn't have to do with GNU Anastasis, but it was important to make that point. So please don't refer to free software as open source. Open source is a movement that would like for software to become better, but it doesn't foster freedom. It promotes software per se. And what happens? That open source is full of private software. So all free software is open source, but not all open source is free software. So it's a mistake to talk about open source. And this was a movement that was created in the year 2000 in order to bring free software closer to companies like GitHub that went public. But it was a mistake by Red Gamer, who was a great programmer. So it was the mistake to refer to that as open source. But open source is not the same as free software. Some softwares are open source, but because they have a private blog, they're not completely free. I only use free software. I don't use Instagram, Amazon, Facebook. I'm the person that avoids the usage of that because I'm not used. I'm a user. I use the mobile phone. I use the SMS. I use a video call with a video button and with software that protects my privacy. And if I'm talking through Zoom, it doesn't have to go through the US or China before it reaches the user. And that's Big Blue Button or Gypsy, and it's not Zoom or Skype or whatever. And the rebuke to him, and I know that I'm eating up the minutes devoted to GNU Anastasis. My bosses will kill me. Please don't confuse free.
Like free, it's an ambiguous word, okay? Free means freedom, but at the same time means free in price. But we have here in Spain the word gratis. So we have la palabra libertad, like Spain, and gratis for referring to the price, okay? But in the United States or in England, when English speaking zones in the world, they refer to the word free. And he was referring to the word free, referring to price, but not to freedom. I'm just rebooking, I'm just saying that it's just random chat, don't worry. So just free, don't say, this is free. No, it's freeware, it's free, no. Free as in freedom or free as in price. So be specific. And now, if I have some more minutes to explain Anastasis?
La verdad es que no.
No more minutes, okay.
Not really.
Okay, I just wait.
Si quieres resumir en una...
If you would like to summarize in one sentence how you apply free software in your project.
I'll explain GNU Anastasis in just 30 seconds, okay? First, GNU Anastasis is free software. It's part of the GNU Talent project, which is a payment system. And GNU Anastasis, which is, I think this is a slide, it's a way of having let's say the way again of protecting your own private key without a password. So how you do that? You split your private key in pieces, you encrypt it, you send it to different servers with two-factor authentication challenges, and then you leave it on those servers. Not in only 4 or 5 servers, you can leave the same piece in several servers. And then a few months later, if you have forgotten your well, not the password, because you don't protect your Anastasis, it doesn't use a password. If you want to recover your private key, then you ask those providers for those pieces. They will ask you for those two-factor authentication challenges that you previously did. And then if you have success, then you can gather all the pieces together and you have your private key. Because GNU, just one more minute, okay? GNU Anastasis, the purpose of GNU Anastasis is to avoid the people to use passwords to protect private keys. So password, it's something really short, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And a private key, it's 256 bytes or characters, or even 512. And the thing is that people normally use a password to protect the private key. That's a mistake. GNU Anastasis doesn't use any password. You create a profile with GNU Anastasis. Anastasis creates for you a couple of keys, and then those pieces are encrypted with that keys. And I'm sure that my responsible in Switzerland, he will kill me tomorrow, but I think I have done the right thing today.
You're right.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry for this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Javier. So, vale, pues 2 preguntas.
So we have time for 2 questions.
No quiero ser malo, quiero preguntarte.
Ask for him.
No, a ti.
I don't want to be mean, but I wanted to ask you, what's your BIOS in your PC? Is it free software?
Perdóname. Depende de
I can say it in English if you want. Is your PC BIOS free software?
Do you? I'm comfortable to English, no worry. The thing is, having 100% free software machine sometimes is difficult because you have to change the BIOS with LibreBoot, which is, you have to be super geek to do it yourself. You can ask some hacker to do it for you. I can do that for you if you want, but because I know how to do it. But if you are just a final user, you can just put a pen drive, install Debian or whatever, not Ubuntu. Debian is way better than Ubuntu. And that's it, you have a free computer. Because Debian is, if you don't download or install, any proprietary blobs for the Wi-Fi or things like that, you have a 100% free software computer. And that's always, nice to have. The thing is that, I mean, you are not the guy that was before here, that he was keeping asking this question to everybody, like, what do you think about the next generation in one phrase? Well, I know you're not asking me this question, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Go ahead.
Just in case you were him, okay? I mean, if you guys keep using Facebook, we won't have, or even Google, okay? We won't have any next generation internet. So the blame is, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands of how many of you use WhatsApp, because probably 100%. Okay, I'm not going to do that to you. But the thing is, if you keep using Facebook as used, not users, used, well, it's like the people is watching, the whole, afternoon, these horrible programs in the TV. Then when you turn the TV on, you have these, these horrible things like Salvamen, stuff like that, some people like. Sometimes I like with my wife, sometimes I have to see that. But, I mean, the user, sometimes we want to protect users, but it's not our mission to protect them. We are individuals, we have to protect ourselves. So I really encourage you to don't use Facebook, for example, or Instagram, but keep your kids away from those platforms. Because all those companies, we have to, the thing is, for example, here in Europe, we just protect ourselves from all those products from the US. And the US is like a cyber war. All those products they want to get inside Europe, all those products inside. So we're kind of, pushing back, like, no more Amazon, we want shops, no more Facebook, we want, our own platforms. But they keep pushing, So now in Spanish, just to finish. Málaga, me ha gustado.
I loved Malaga.
Yolanda will invite me maybe next year to speak more. But, I mean, I've seen so many bakeries and all these big pieces of cake, and I did have this problem after the pandemic with my big belly that I didn't have before. But I know it's harmful for me to eat so much, pieces of cake. So I just go maybe once a week or once a month. So it's the same as Facebook. It's just if you know that's not good for you and not good for your kids, not good for your friends, just try to live without that. Try to aim your friends to use other platforms. What I say to them, I'm not super radical. I only use Signal or I only use Telegram. But if I tell them, if you want to speak with me, then you have to write me an email, call to my land phone, ring my bell, or maybe, I don't know, use Telegram. I use Telegram sometimes in the computer. But just force him to communicate with you towards different platforms. So do not, how do you say, let's say, do not let your friends to force you to use certain platforms. Like you receive an email, hey, download this from G Drive. Well, I don't have Gmail. I don't want to open an account for downloading this. Or they send you these Dropbox things. I don't have a Dropbox account. Maybe you can use Dropbox without an account, yet sometimes. Okay, I'm sorry about it.
I'm mesmerized, but we need to finish. One last question, but not for him.
Too much, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Yolanda. I know next year I won't come here. I have destroyed your event. I just can't stop speaking. I'm sorry.
Termina, por favor.
Okay, I have finished. Just last question. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
You stand up? We go now? Okay. That was short.
¿Tienes algo que decir, Sonia?
Javier. No vengas más. Jorge, un café.
Dibujamos puentes, trazamos retos definidos.
We draw new sources, we make new challenges, defying new bumps, drawbacks, reducing our ability to decide. Users, used, sometimes we choose the chains.